Well, hi everyone. First, I'm sorry my voice sounds awful today. I was at a drag show last night, and now I'm paying the price for screaming for 2 hours. Now my voice is completely fried. But I want to shoot this quickly. I had a bigger video planned for this week, but some things went wrong, and I still want to get something out. Anyway, if you've been with this channel for a little while, first of all, thank you. But you'll know that I really like vintage calculators. I've shown off some of my collection in the past. But what I have today is by far the prettiest one I've ever seen. Date codes are slim. I'm having trouble finding any. However, this seems to be late 1971, early 1972. This is from Casio's first generation of calculators to use vacuum fluorescent display tubes. Their previous generation of calculators that had three different ones, one of them including the original 121 non-S, used Nixie tubes and was the first generation to have metal oxide semiconductor chips instead of a billion individual transistors. So this is a absolutely gorgeous piece of history with a nice little story behind it. Well, first I'm going to turn on the lights so you can actually see. Power switch is back there. The power plug, we're gonna talk about that a bit later. But I actually do think that's original. It looks strange. It looks very odd. And when I picked this up, I was wondering if it had been repaired not very well at some point. But no, after seeing the inside, I think it actually left the factory like that. There's the bottom. By the way, this is so heavy. It is ridiculous. The density of this calculator is absolutely absurd. Well, it's time for the power cable, and that's where that plug comes in. So this is the same plug. Excuse me, I don't exactly know what it is called, but I have this plug on my TI-59's PC100C printer dock. So with Casio being a Japanese company, I have a feeling that the hole in the back was cut out for a Japanese plug standard, but in the American model that was shipped overseas, they put this plug at an angle. I cannot confirm this. However, that is my suspicion, and it feels rather plausible. Absolutely beautiful. So the first thing you'll probably notice is that the zeros are smaller than normal. The zeros are only 4 segments, and I've never seen another calculator that does this. And that's not just the filler zeros that are automatically inserted, that's the ones you type as well. So it gives the display a very, very unique look. That aside, though, this is an exceptionally basic 4-function calculator. The only really special and notable mathematical function it has are the selectable floating point, and you can change the rounding of that. So you can change where the decimal is put. Another nice feature that I've never seen, you might be able to slightly see it, but there is this slidable plastic bar to help indicate where the decimal places are on screen. And those aren't like the thousands places. So after each 3 VFD numbers, you can move this to where you would put the commas if you were writing a big number out by hand. And it's slidable so that when you select your floating point, when you select where the decimal is placed, you can also move this indicator to fit where the decimal is. So that's a really neat touch. I've never seen that anywhere. Its calculating feels way more like an adding machine than any other calculator I've ever used that isn't explicitly an adding machine. I mean, in case the plus equals and minus equals buttons didn't make that abundantly clear. Another wonderful thing worth mentioning is how it indicates negative numbers. So, you've probably seen the vast majority of calculators, even VFD ones, use one segment, the middle segment of the previous display, to indicate a negative. This, not at all. And it's one of the very few calculators that I've ever used or ever even seen that doesn't use the number display to indicate a negative. Let's put in -9. It turns on this incandescent indicator all the way at the opposite side of the tube, this little red indicator to indicate it's negative. And once you type in a positive number, even when you don't add it to the memory of the calculator, the indicator turns off. It probably looks great so far. However, there's only so much you can see from the outside. So all of these semiconductor chips are all made by Hitachi. Just like my Casio 162F from about 1973, all of these Hitachi chips are intended to be used in calculators to take the place of discrete transistors. So this does predate the era of the large-scale integration that you would see in the later 1970s, where, I mean, even 2 years later, in 1973, all of these chips could be consolidated into a single one for a 4-function calculator like this one. So I have struggled to find datasheets on many of these chips because they're pretty old, and some of these datasheets have not been well archived, or at least are not easily searchable online. However, as the model numbers indicate, these are all from the same series. So this line was sold as one microprocessor. It's not like you could just use one of these. No, you needed a bunch. So one of the reasons that there are so many chips are because each number is its own VFD tube. And first of all, I do have a couple calculators with these individual tubes, but they're just so pretty. And honestly, I like the look of them when using the calculator more than multiple numbers on a single tube. Find it easier to read. But anyway, with each of these tubes having 9 pins, it would require an absolutely ridiculously giant column driver chip if you were to plug all of them into the same microprocessor. So that's part of the reason for having so many chips. It's because there are just a lot of pins they need to talk to. Again, I would love to go more in depth about the circuitry here. However, I also do not want to spread misinformation. I can't confirm exactly what I think, but I do have a couple data sheets, and I'll run through those right now. So these are all from the HD 3200 series, the vast majority of them at least. And I don't have those. However, I was able to find from their first generation MOS integrated circuit HD 3100 series. Of course, the chips are not the same, so keep that in mind. However, I'm going to read out these datasheets to you just to give you an idea of what all of these chips might be doing. So all of these chips are things that you could build on a breadboard pretty easily. The biggest one that I've seen in this collection of datasheets has a couple dozen transistors. So the HD 3101 is a dual 8-bit shift register, for example. The HD 3103 is just 5 MOSFETs. The HD 3104 is 4 AND gates and 4 NAND gates. The 3106 is a 3-input AND gate. The HD 3107 is a quadruple quasi-static delayed flip-flop, which is the cutest little name I've ever heard. So most of them are just a couple gates or shift registers on these chips. Now, the HD3112 is the calculator chip, essentially. It has, as the datasheet says, it includes about 100 gates and performs the function of series delayed full adder subtractor. So here we have two HD3212s. So it can be assumed that those are the calculator chips. They are the ones handling the majority of the actual calculations. So I'll put up the 3100 series datasheet up on screen. Again, these aren't exactly the same chips. However, with the way Hitachi named their chips, the ones in this calculator do the same things pretty much as the HD3100 series. Once again, I would love to be able to speak on these chips a little bit more. So if anybody in the comments has a resource with more information or can just tell me if you know what any of these are a bit more specifically, I think I've given you a clear enough picture to make out the model numbers printed on them. But if anyone knows anything, please let me know in the comments, because I'm sure I and fellow commenters would greatly enjoy. Next up is the keyboard. It is like a textbook example of a mechanical keyboard. All of these are reed switches. If you've never used one, they're small switches that close the circuit when exposed to a nearby magnetic field. So therefore, all these switches they don't actually make electrical contact when you press them. All these switches are a spring-loaded magnet. And I doubt my camera mic will pick it up, but you can actually hear the reed switch click when you press the key. It's exceptionally faint. And because the button you press doesn't contact a button on a PCB or the actual switch, it gives the keyboard an exceptionally unique feel. It feels different than, of course, any of my modern mechanical keyboards, but any of my other calculators of the era that use more conventional mechanical keyboards, where pressing the button makes the electrical connection, rather than moves a magnet so that the reed switch makes the electrical connection. So I know the Casio 121S is not by far the only application of a keyboard like this. However, it's the only one I've personally used, and I love it. A very nice, sharp, punchy sound, and the keys don't get squishy as you get close to bottoming them out, because they're not touching anything. The resistance stays pretty much the same the whole time you're pressing them. Of course, you get the spring stretching out a bit as you push them further down, but because the button that you're pressing doesn't touch anything, it's a really interesting feel. Anyway, one more thing to address before I pack this up. The adders take multiple cycles, as in probably tens of thousands, to do some multiplication and division cycles. But unlike newer calculators, the 121S doesn't blank the screen. The adders don't stop outputting to the shift registers and the display column drivers while it's performing those calculations. And the effect that you get is absolutely beautiful. You kind of saw it there. You get this ripple on screen as it does the calculation. Yep, there we go. There we go. That's a better one. Yes! Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's so pretty to watch. Well, that's all I have for you for now for the 121S. I'm sorry I couldn't find information on the exact chips in there. Once again, if anyone in the comments can help me out, I would be forever indebted to you. Wasn't exactly what I was planning to put out this week, but I bought this thinking I would fix it, and I plugged it in, and it worked fine. So I hope you all enjoyed this slightly more in-depth look at this absolutely gorgeous calculator. If you want to see more a bit like this, go watch my first video on my weird calculator collection, because I do have some other kind of odd ones, and I do have some more weird calculator videos planned coming up. But anyway, that's it for this one. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you next time.